Hello guys and welcome to the musicbusiness.io video and podcast. In today's session we're going to talk about the time that the industry screwed me over and how my reaction to what happened negatively impacted everything else. So if we rewind as much as 12, 13 years at this point, something that I used to do was I used to do beat production and essentially like sell beats. However, it was a lot different back then to how it is now. There weren't things like BeatStars and like even simple like PayPal click to buy buttons just weren't a thing. So what a lot of people did, what a lot of beat makers did was they would work in like a conglomerate. You'd work as a team, and generally the like label kind of as it was would have its own website, and they did the selling of the beats and they did all the pitching. And you made beats for them, sent them to them, and they kind of sold it as a product. That's sort of how it worked back then. And there were some big names doing it. And one of the things I did was I made beats and I would send them out to a couple of these places. And one started taking my beats on fairly regularly. And they would generate sales for me every now and then. Nothing particularly big, but it was an income stream, and I was making music and I was doing what I enjoyed, which was just making beats. I used to have a little MPC 1000, the like blue and red one, the Optimus Prime MPC it was known as. And I loved making beats on that thing, and I loved digging for records and going through everything. Like I've still got some of the vinyl that I sampled down here. I got rid of pretty much everything else, but kept the ones that had some samples on that I loved. And yeah, that was essentially what I was doing and how I was making a bit of money from music at the time back then. Now, the thing that happened was when you uploaded a beat, when it got taken on, you had to send an MP3 over, you had to send a WAV file over, and you had to send the mixdown stems over. The place that I was sending them to, the guys I was working with, didn't particularly care where the samples came from or anything like that. And that's going to come down a little bit later in the line as to why that's important. They just wanted all of the assets. So when someone wanted the beat, they could just go, boom, here's the beat. And in terms of like the sample clearance, wasn't anything we had to worry about. We could sample whatever we wanted and just crack on, basically. And what happened was, after a while, I listened to an album that had come out, and I recognized like the chops and cuts from a sample that I had cut up, and the way it was done was in exactly the same way I had done it, but it wasn't my beat, and I had never sold that beat that I was aware of. So when I reached out, I was like, hey, how's this happened? Like, have they like bought the stems and like remixed the track or something like that? And it turns out what had happened was the company I was working with, they tried to pitch this beat and they said they didn't like the drums on it. So the company essentially took the stems from my beat, they took the chopped up sample part, and they got someone to redo all the drums and other elements but keep the sample chops, and then they sold it on, they paid for the work there and sold the beat on like that without even telling me. I heard the track and pinged that, like, hey, that's something I put together. Why has that happened? How do I not know about this? And it happened to be on an artist I listened to. If you're ever curious about how that went down, I'll just tell you the sample was taken from a film called Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. And you know, if you find out who sampled that and how that went down, maybe you could trace it back if you're so inclined, but you know, it's way in the past. But the thing was, that hit me so hard that I stopped making music altogether. I was just like, the industry is a mess. It shouldn't be going down like this. I've basically been screwed over. And my reaction was to like just implode on myself. And it was 100% the wrong thing to do. You know, I imploded, I stopped making music. I started making music again a little while later, maybe a year or so, but I was just doing it for myself. It was all self-contained. I didn't put anything out. I just did it because I genuinely enjoy like playing around with sound and making sounds, and that's just what I love to do, and that's how I've managed to make a business out of doing it. But you know, it made me self-implode. I was really like not in a good space with that. But In hindsight, the way I should have reacted is completely different. What I should have done was quite literally ignore that entire thing. Just go, cool, that's fine. I no longer work with you guys. I should have had it in my head that I've got the skill set already to do this and make money. And what I should have gone was, damn, this is a huge placement for me, but I need to work on my drums and the bits that weren't liked in that track. Instead, I imploded into like this self-hate loop, which was useless and set me back massively because I stopped reaching out, stopped making connections, things faded off. And in the last 3, 4, 5 years or so now, I've really come back into my own. But we're rewinding now, like 12 to 13 years. That's a huge step back and a huge slowdown on what I was doing. But I never wanted to come back into the making beats game. And however, I did launch Warrior Sound Beats again a couple of years ago, and it did okay. I've phased that off now, just at a point in my life where I was just too busy to be looking after that aspect of a business, and it wasn't lucrative enough compared to everything else I'm doing to carry on doing it, like Warrior Sound and Music Biz IO and the whole Unders brand. That keeps me busy enough, along with having a family. So I let that phase off. However, like the Warrior Sound beats still go out on Spotify and Apple Music and generate passive income. I do nothing for those. I don't promote them, but people find them because they're always looking for beats on places like those, and works out well for me. Put the whole albums up for sale on Spotify and makes a few dollars every couple of weeks. As completely happy with that. Passive income, I do nothing for it, and it's music and assets that I had made and weren't doing anything with anyway. It's a good place with that, really. But yeah, this sort of self-loathing thing set me back massively. But what I should have done, I should have really focused on the positive aspects that a well-known artist, someone big in my space, liked most of what I had done and took it on board. And just because the people I was working with at the time turned out to not be as supportive and were more about kind of the money, and I felt pretty screwed over because they used my work, had it edited by someone else, which, giving the stems to them, you're trusting that aspect that they're just going to do the whole sales thing. They're not going to go, cool, we've got this asset. They didn't even come to me to adjust it. They just got it done, which business mindset for them, I get, but honestly, a horrible way to go. So the real lesson for me was focus on the positive things, focus on what's good has come out of that and what I should have done with it, which was right then and there. I should have taken all my beats back and I should have started Warrior Sound Beats then, like all those years ago. And maybe right now I'd still be in the beat making business instead of doing what I'm doing. I absolutely love what I'm doing, but it could have played out differently and I could have carried on down that route and been further on in my career. I held myself back by thinking the industry was against me. And it's the wrong kind of mindset to have. I've now got much more of an abundance, positive mindset that something like this, I would just go, cool, here's the positive aspects of that. I'm going to take those, bundle those up, and the reason this didn't work, I've got such, and such. Those are the reasons that I need to adjust. And I'm going to come bigger, better, and stronger out of this rather than take everything away, take it all off the table, and game over sort of thing. So that's it today, guys. That's the lesson I want to give you, that things like this do happen, but you need to focus on the positive aspect of it. You got to that point, you were making money from music, a big artist placement happened, a label was interested in you, whatever it was. Just don't focus on the crap bit that happened, the person that screwed you over. Just take the lesson, don't work with that individual, like don't breed any hate towards them, just cut them away. You were an asset to them, not the other way around. When this happens, that's something you really, really realize. You were an asset to them. They were not actually helping you that much. And you realize that when you get screwed over. So guys, that's the lesson. I hope the video was helpful for you. If it was, please bash a like on the video and I can share more stories like this. I've never shared this story before. So there you go. That's something for you. And thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.